regarding the consultations we've had, and indeed we've asked questions on various aspects of the draft constitution, which we had some very good discussions on, and we're happy to provide clarification. Also at the same time we discussed the importance to prepare for the elections under a system that was transparent, and that there was elimination of fraud or voter identity theft, all those sorts of issues we highlighted to them, that in order to have elections we need to ensure that those sorts of issues that were highlighted by the EU report for the 2006 elections don't occur or reoccur. And we also highlighted the fact that we need to have the constitution put in place in time to ensure that the elections can be held by 30th September 2014. Because as the draft constitution suggests, the elections under this draft constitution must be held by no later than 30th of September. They also demonstrated a willingness to assist in the elections, and in terms of the details, obviously they will need to discuss more in detail later on, either on a bilateral basis or on a multilateral basis.
What were some of the reactions just with the draft constitution out for the public and the public consultations that began around the country?
You mean their reactions?
Yeah,
oh, they asked, for example, what are the issues that people commonly have raised. So we highlighted to them the things that people have commonly raised. We highlighted to them the issues or provision of the draft constitution that has got a lot of positive response. We highlighted to them, for example, the clarification we provided regarding, for example, unfair discrimination provisions, how we've included culture as part of unfair discrimination, one of the unfair discrimination grounds, and how we've included the strengthening of the expropriation of lands or property, and how that also relates to Itauke land. Obviously there were some questions that had been raised, and the very positive responses we've got following the explanations, not obviously just in Lambasa but in Lautoka and Ba. And we talked about how people have discussed things like what does secular state mean, how does it affect them, if at all. Those sorts of issues we highlighted to them. We also had some discussions regarding trade negotiations, like they talked about whether we're willing to participate in PESA plus negotiations, and essentially what we highlighted was that Fiji needs to be treated fairly and equally like everybody else, and obviously in a forum or in a platform where Fiji is treated equally like everybody else, Fiji would be happy to participate in, and that the disengagement has not been on Fiji's side. We also highlighted the fact, in particular in relation to Australia and New Zealand, about travel bans for judiciary members, how Australia has stopped ADB from giving money for infrastructure development, and how the Bainimarama government has been very much focused on infrastructure development. There's been an impediment. But primarily we talked about the constitutional process. We did say to them, we explained to them the reasons for the deviation, from the Guy draft and the Constituent Assembly and what we are doing now, and the fact that, they wanted, they said some critics are saying that the media is unfair or biased, and we said we don't tell the media what to write or what to print, and sometimes it's not what people write to print, it's sometimes what they don't write to print. Also, that's an issue. Fiji Times would know that. But there are those sorts of issues that we did discuss, and that the Bainimarama government is very much committed to ensuring that the elections would be held in a very much transparent and fair manner, and that it is obviously Bainimarama government's intention to ensure that there is integrity in the system, and not to have some dodgy election, fundamentally.
So any new dates as to when the new constitution will come up?
Well, no, like we said, it depends on the submissions, and of course the President has to assent to the Constitution, the final version of the Constitution, and people are still making submissions. We still are going out to have consultations or provide clarifications. The latest one is, as you'll see advertised in today's papers, we're going to Nandi on Monday morning, and then Monday evening is Duvu College. We'll also be going to Tabuni, Sabu. We hope to also go to Kandavu, various parts in Naitasiri and Talevu and Levuka too. But we're just working out the timetables for that.
So would you be able to give an update on the registration of the political parties?
You need to talk to the registrar on that. I understand he's sending out some correspondence, but he has more of the specific details.
Talk about the meeting with the proposed political party members later today?
No, but we did say to them that what they have been saying publicly in the media, and also what we understand they said to the Commonwealth, is not an option. That the path has been laid out, that this is the draft constitution we're going to work from, and the people are already making submissions on that. So for them to say to wind back the clock and go to the guide draft is not an option. That this is the option, it's a way forward. Because of the reason that the guide draft has so many fundamental flaws, you essentially won't be able to, given the fact that you'll have negotiations on it could go over a year, not more. So we need to be focused on this draft, and that we look forward to any constructive submissions that they have or they want to make. But the option of going back to the guide draft and starting the process again is not an option.
Were they concerned about any aspect of the Constitution?
No, they did not say specifically. They did ask, for example, one of the gentlemen asked about, for example, the appointment of the Chief Justice by the Prime Minister. We pointed out to him that was the same case in the 1997 Constitution. In fact, in Australia, the Chief Justice is appointed by the Governor-General with the recommendation of the Prime Minister. Similarly, in Fiji, we have this, recommendation of the Prime Minister, and the President appoints the Chief Justice. So what we said to them is not the actual appointment per se, it's whether the person is allowed to function independently or not. That is the real test. And if you see the provisions in the section of the judiciary, it has been given so many more new provisions regarding the independence of the judiciary. They even have their own budget now. They also do their own appointments now under the draft. So they want to change a court clerk, it doesn't have to go to PSC, they do it themselves. That guarantees them more independence, and also the specialization of skill sets. But if you have people coming in and out of the judiciary, like court clerks, you lose that expertise. So when that was pointed out, the gentleman agreed that that was the best way forward.
Is it a positive sign with MCG in the country?
In what respect?
For the government, is it a positive sign?
Well, the Beni Marama government has always been focused on the time frame that it has set. The Beni Marama government has always been willing to engage with different countries on a bilateral and multilateral basis, as long as we have fair and equal treatment, and the sovereignty of Fiji is recognized and protected.